All right, welcome to another episode of Unbound Being. My name is Roald, the creator of Buena Vista Island Estate, and I help people who are open-minded and ready to incorporate new ideas into their life so that they can actually broaden their perspective, shift their perspective, include little aspects that I talk about in their perspective so that they can actually see things in a different light and then apply those things to their life and surroundings, their society and their whole surrounding in order to make this world a better place for both themselves and for all the people around them, including all species on Earth, plants, animals, and the whole organism which is called the Earth. And today I want to speak about why there's no such thing as Muslim, Christian, Jew, Hindu, or whatever you want to call yourself, Jahova. There is no such thing. And the reason there's no such thing is as follows. It starts with language. And if you look at language, it is a very useful tool that we have managed to attain or master in different ways. And as you can see, the animals communicate in different ways. They seem to be limited in their communication, and humans seem to be very broad in their communication. In fact, on this planet, we have an incredible amount of different languages with different cultures, different languages all over the planet, even within a certain set of languages, like for example the Spanish languages come from Latin, and in fact others as well. They have certain roots that come from the same place, but they're still quite different. And the reason we use language or communication or speech or talk or whatever you want to call it, basically communication, is to convey certain things about the physical reality that we live in. And you'll see that basically what I'm doing right now, I'm communicating, and what I'm doing is I am using sounds which come from my vocal cords, and I'm also using some expressional features with my face and my hands, but mainly I'm using words which are nothing but sounds. And the reason these sounds make sense to somebody else is because we have agreed upon a certain set of sounds that we have said, okay, well, that sound we will mean this with. So for example, if I use the word hand, my hand, in English, this is a hand, it is a sound. Hand, 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 right? Hands, two hands, one hand. It's a sound, hand. And we've agreed that that sound means the physical appearance of the human protrusions coming from the body, which then at the end have this feature which is called the hand, made out of fingers and things like that. All words like finger, hand, arm, this human body, all these words we have agreed upon that these words mean something. And that's very handy because if you're trying to point something out about something and you're saying, well, you know, he had inked on his hand, he cut his hand in the kitchen or something like that, you want to know what he's talking about. When you say he, then we have to know who it is. Usually that's why people have names, but the name is empty. It just is a pointer towards the person. Then you could say his hand. Well, hand is just pointing towards that part in the physical thing is that it's his, and then it's hand. So you take all the other things away. Now you're focusing on his, because we know who you're talking about. Let's say John's hand was cut in the kitchen, or John cut his hand in the kitchen. It's a descriptive way that we use sound, and then we agree upon the sound meaning certain thing, and then we say, well, that's John, and we agree that that's John. Then we say he cut his hand. Now we know he himself cut his hand in the kitchen. Now we don't know which kitchen because it's the kitchen, but we expect that when you say the kitchen, that we know which kitchen you're talking about. So all these words have a descriptive purpose to them. So we use words descriptively, and that's handy. So if we're going to go out and describe things around us, words are very, very good in communication, but then somehow something strange happens. We basically set parameters. So for example, if I talk about a camera, which I'm talking into right now, I'm talking into a camera and it has a microphone. There's different kinds of cameras. And what you use words for is to describe specifically, and you can go really specific onto those details of the physical reality. You could say it's made out of plastic, it's got several steel screws in it, it's got a lens made out of some kind of hard plastic or glass, and it really is a handy tool to use the communication. But what you can always see is that the communication actually tracks back to something real. In other words, the physical appearance of it. And the more precise you can get, the better it is. Because if I were to say, make me something to drink, and then when you bring me a tea with sugar in it, I might say, no, I don't drink tea. Well, that's why it's more specific. When you use language, it's more handy to be specific. You say, well, bring me a hot tea in that black cup, the small black cup. I want you to boil the water to a certain temperature. It's completely boiling. Then take it off straight away. Have the green tea bag from that brand, the X brand, in the cup. Pour the hot boiling water straight on top of it. And then let it stand for 3 minutes. And then add 2 teaspoons of raw honey from that bottle standing on that counter. And then bring it to me immediately so that it doesn't cool down before I want to drink, because I like to drink it hot, for example. That is much better than saying something to drink or drink, So in other words, we use words descriptively. Now, then when you're talking about something, because you've described it so well, you can say, for example, there's a word for example, your sinuses. Well, we refer to, and there's different sinuses, so you can go even more specific and say, well, that sinus, or you can go to the inner ear of your eardrum. It's not your ear, it's your eardrum. We go specifically. So language is handy in that sense. But then something weird happens. It basically means that when you have a certain description, the parameters of that descriptive usage of words actually indicate towards a certain section. In other words, when we're talking about cameras, you're like, well, it is a device that is used to film people, to grab images and to record images live and movement in actual time. And then later you can see them back on that device. And then people say, oh, you mean a video camera? Well, yeah, that's because it falls into the category with the descriptions I give it. But when we go into religion, something really strange happens. For example, somebody would call himself a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew. It doesn't really matter which you want to call yourself. They say they fall into a descriptive category because they believe in, well, for example, let's take a Muslim. They say Allah is the one, Muhammad was the prophet who brought Allah's word. They say they bow to Mecca, they pray to Mecca, they always bow down towards the east. They wear certain hats, and so I'm a Muslim. That's what they would say, right? I'm a Muslim because I fit the descriptions that we have boxed, labeled into words, and we call that a Muslim. Like we call what I'm speaking to right now a camera, although I'm really speaking to you. At this moment, I'm speaking to a camera. And I can call that a video camera. We say, yeah, it's a video camera because it fits the descriptions, the words, the sounds, which we have agreed on that this sound of video camera means the thing that I'm now talking to. But it's nothing but a sound which then was agreed upon, because in a different language it's a different word. Like my hand, in some other languages, in Spanish it's mano. So it has nothing to do with hand, it's a completely different sound. But they agreed that in Spanish, when we say mi mano, then that this is my hand. And we say hand, and in another language they say something completely else. So the sound is not the reality. The word is not the reality. The reality is still this. This is still the reality, not the sound. Hand has really nothing to do with this. This here is the reality. And this here, hand, mano, is not the reality. It's just that we use that descriptive purpose, that sound, and said, yeah, when we talk about that, when we say that, then we all agree that we mean this. But this is the reality. But with religion is different. Religion is say, I'm a Muslim, or I'm a Christian, or I'm a Jew, or I'm a Hindu. Why? Well, because I believe in the God Vishnu, or Krishna, or Vishnu, or the other person says Christus, and the other one says Allah, and Muhammad was the prophet. The other says Jesus was the Son of God, which was the one only prophet. And the other person says Buddha is the one, so I'm a Buddhist. Well, what makes you a Buddhist? Well, I wear a robe, an orange robe, with one arm with cloth and one arm free, and I have a mala around me, and I say my prayers in Om Mani Padme Hum, which means I'm a Buddhist. Or the other guy says, no, I'm a Jew. Well, those descriptions don't have the same reality as this. So the word Muslim, or Jew, or Christian, or Hindu, or Buddhist is a word which describes a certain parameter, but it doesn't make it real like this hand is real. Of course, the sound's not real, but my hand here is real. But when you're describing yourself as to be something that is not to be pointed out anywhere, you can't say that you're a Buddhist because, well, you got a robe on. I can put the robe on. I can put an orange robe on and have a mala and chant Om Mani Padme Hum. Doesn't make me a Buddhist. And then I can switch a minute later and put on a robe from the Muslims, and I could say chants of Allah, and I could bow to the east and call myself a Muslim. Doesn't make me a Muslim, because the Muslim is nothing but a word. There is no such thing. Now, that doesn't take away that there are realizations in which people go within or have extreme stress or even after-death experiences where you experience being connected to the Almighty, to the one source. But that's the same as Allah and Buddha and Krishna and all those people have experienced. Or at least Muhammad and all the prophets and even people like Eckhart Tolle these days and Barry Long and different people. There's hundreds of, maybe even thousands of people alive right now that have the experience of being unified with the one field, the quantum field, the universal energetic principle, God, life, Allah, whatever you want to call it. The fact is, they're just words. The experience, however, that people have is within them. The experience is that they go within and they transcend just being the body, and they sense and know intrinsically by Gnostic knowledge and absolute certainty that I am one with the source. And then when they come back, they got to use these words, which we are using at this moment, and there are different languages, and then they say, they describe that experience into something. And those masters, those realized people, then describe the experience of interconnectedness, of union, of God connection, of quantum physical interconnectedness, of being connected to the entire universe. They describe that in their language, in the words that they have. And then suddenly it becomes a description that people say, oh, well then if you see it like that, if you describe it in words and in sounds the way you do, then you are a Buddhist or a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew. And that's not true at all. That's a sound which kind of tries to embody or describe and put the descriptions onto a person. But that person who calls himself a Jew or a Muslim doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a Jew. And most people that call themselves Jews or Christians or Buddhists don't have the direct experience of God. Because if you do have the direct experience of God, if you ever had a tiny little bit of taste of being one with the universe, then you immediately have the Gnostic knowledge, the direct knowledge, the intrinsic, energetic knowledge, which is not information, but knowledge that you are one with the universe. So there is no such thing. That makes you a Muslim, or you know that right away. When you realize that, you realize right away that when the Jews say this, or the Christians say that, or the Muslims say that, or the Hindus say that, they're all talking about the same thing, but they're describing it differently. Like I describe things differently than other people might describe it. That's why I bring my unique perspective in order to shed light from the angle that I see things from and explain it from. But the fact is that all those people, whoever had the experience, came and tried to describe it into a very simple and silly way of describing things in sounds, which we then agree upon. But people don't even know because they don't have the experience. So when somebody says, I am one with God, as somebody who never had the experience of being one with God doesn't know at all what we're talking about, what that person's talking about. And then it becomes a religion. Then it becomes a thing like, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew. But a real, insightful, realized person doesn't say the Christ consciousness or the Buddha consciousness or the Allah consciousness or whatever. He knows it's the whatever you want to call it. It's all of those and none of those. Because finally, there's no such thing as being a Muslim. There's no such thing as being a Jew. There's no such thing as being a Christian. There's no such thing as being any of those things. Hindu, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Jahova, it doesn't matter. You got all these different branches. Those are words. You're not the word. I am not the word. My sound that's coming from my vocal cord is nothing to do with anything. It is a tool that I use to describe certain things. And the description is not the thing. A hand, hand, mano. It's not this. I don't care how you speak. I don't care what name you give anything. You can't be any of those. You can't be the sound unless you're saying it right now, and then it's nothing but a vibration. So I'm saying Muslim. Does that make me a Muslim? No, but I can say the word. I can say Jew, I can say Christian, I can say Hindu, I can say Buddha, right? I can say all those things. Does it make me one? No. Or it makes me all, but it makes me none. It makes nothing, because it doesn't make sense, because it's just sounds that we have agreed upon that is fit certain parameters. And those parameters are just an imaginary thing. Just like religions are imaginary, because there's nothing else but the direct experience now with the Creator. And that Creator is nothing to do with Christ or Buddha or Jew or Muslim or anything. So let's get rid of these infantile ideas that sounds and descriptive words are something that you can, boom, put yourself into and then call yourself something. It's immature and it's time to move on. See you next time.